44 BR, owned by Bruce Eade, restored by Bruce Eade, and driven by Bruce Eade. A 1948 John Deere Model G, owned by Larry and Laura Horseman, and driven by one of our past presidents, Brian Sharp. Next we have a 1941 John Deere H, which is John Deere's smallest row crop. The owners are Glenn and Lois Shaw, restored by William Bill Shaw and driven by Glenn Shaw. Next, a 620 Standard, 1957 is the year, owned by Bob and Linda Boosomworth, always been an Ontario tractor, only 920 standards built. Restoration project for retirement by Kyle Boosomworth, and Kyle is our driver, and he's also a great worker in our club here. Next, the 420 row crop, owned and driven by Jim Hulse. I'll get the particulars off the side here. It says the 420T, all fuel, one of 112 made, original wheel weights and front weights. It's owned by James and Tyler Hulse, Orangeville, driven by grandfather Jimmy. Here we have a 520 white front, owned by Jerry and Tricia Brook. Thank you. Thank you. I'll get it.
39A, owned by me and my wife.
Here we go. I'll get you to stay here. Okay, here we got a 1949A, owned by a past president and a great worker here. Doug Dan, him and his wife Helk own it. It says equipped with rear dealer demonstration seat, and the driver is Doug Dan. It seats 2 people, Doug tells me. Thank you, Doug.
This one's right after the 30.
Here's our first president, Don Morden, with his 830 John Deere diesel. 1959 is the year. That was the biggest diesel John Deere made. Thanks, Don. Next is a 620 Orchard, driven by his wife Shayla. And there is a rare tractor. Thanks, Shayla. There should be one here for an MC, is there? Yeah, this one here. Here we have a John Deere MC, 1949, owned and driven by Pat Dieter. This next tractor is no card, anyhow. It's a 4020 diesel, driven by one of our directors here, Mark Burek. It's weighted down for pulling, and I'll bet it'll pull. See those tires bagging? This 70 here is Les and Shelley skirts, driven by our past president, Art Freeman. And this is a row crop tractor. Thank you. Here we have a 1957 320 utility owned by Wilfred Baxton. It says it's original, with a single furrow mounted plow. A 1953 Model 60 row crop, owned by John and Linda Hastings and driven by one of our past presidents here, John Hastings. 1959 530 electric start diesel owned and driven by Henry Gator. Tractor with no cart. There's an interesting tractor. That's a 30-20 gas, and the driver is Curtis Graham. It's out there for 40. Thanks, boys. You're doing a good job. A 1953 40 Standard, owned by Ron and Margaret McEachran, driven by Sharon McEachran. It says it's had a tough life, but being John Deere, it stood it well. Here's a great display at our show. A 1966 Mercury F350, owned and driven by Frank Gollinger. It says 1 ton with hoist, 54,000 miles, and it's a Saskatchewan truck. There's a great truck. This your tractor, Lori?
530 is the feature of 2009, is it? I forgot to write the card.
Don't worry about it. Here we got a 530 row crop, a nice place, nice shape, single front wheel, driven by Andre Deckers. Now we're going to start with our Massey lineup. Massey is our featured tractor this year, and we're very glad to have them here. It says here this one was purchased new in 1960 by Russell Ron. And there's an 88 diesel. Next we got a 1951 Massey Harris 44 diesel owned by Murray and Sally Musselman. Dad bought it new, it says, by Murray Musselman. A 1954 Ferguson TEA 2085. The owners are John and Sandra Rutherford, bought new in 56, restored in 215 by the owner, and it's driven by John Rutherford. It says a Massey Ferguson here, John Byersbergen 135 with a Massey Harris 37 plow, and driven by John Byersbergen. Now we're back to the John Deeres. The 57 420W, owned by Larry and Laura Horseman, driven by Tom Janot. You're welcome. A 1968 John Deere 3020, owned and driven by Brian Walton. A 1970 model of a John Deere 140. It's owned and driven by Greg Pollock. It says it's patio red with 3-point hitch. There's a nice tractor. One of our hard-working past presidents, still a hard worker in the club, a 1954 60 low seat, owned by Doug McLean, and he's also pulled a 1957 30 pull-type John Deere combine in nice shape. Thanks, Doug. Here's a 5020, which was the biggest tractor you could buy then. 1963, driven by Knowles Brendan. tractor here is a 1966 John Deere 5020, owned by Deere Run Farms, bought new in 66, pulled a 7-foot plow and a 22-foot cultivator. That's driven by Paul Culp, and I believe his grandson is with him. What's his first name? Grandson's name is Jamie. Thank you. A 1941 John Deere D on steel wheels. The owner is George Bolonis Shaw. Thank you. A 49 Model M, owned by Reg Burns, driven by Malcolm Burns. A 1968 110 lawn and garden tractor owned by Parker Winfield, first year of square fender design, driven by Parker Winfield. A 76 model of a 212 owned by Rick Winfield and driven by Rick. A 1937 unstyled A, owned by one of our hard-working past presidents here, DJ Martin. Thanks, DJ.
That's what I learned in New York last weekend.
What?
That's what I learned in New York last weekend.
Roars good. I would say it roars good. A 38G owned by John Dale, all fuel hand start and driven by John. Thanks, John. The 56 Model 70 diesel owned by DJ Martin and driven by Terry. A 320 owned and driven by Tyler Hulse. Here's a hard worker in our club, a 1957 420 utility, owned and driven by Kyle Bosamworth. It says it is a 412 plow with two 10-inch furrows with Scotch bottoms. Thanks, Kyle. A 47 Model B, a style B with starter and lights, owned by Ken Crone and driven by Ken.
Thank you.
Next is a 1990 model of a 2555. Owners are Larry and Laura Horseman. It says it was bought new in 1990, all original. It is 1,799 hours, and it's driven by Larry Horseman. Thanks, Larry. Here we have a 1953 Model 50, owned by Marilyn and Bruce Ogrim. It was painted with 27 aerosol cans by Bruce Ogrim, and it's driven by Bruce. Thanks, Bruce. Model MI, John Deere, built in 1952, serial number 10931, original orange factory paint with 5-foot Detroit harvester side mower, driven by David Craig, owned by him and his wife, Novelia. This next tractor has no card, so I'll get the information off the front. Russell and Susan Simpson from Shelburne own this Massey Harris 1941. It's a 101 Super row crop, 36 horsepower, 6 cylinders, cubic inch 217, 4-speed transmission, 6-volt electrical system, color red and yellow. It says remark 6-cylinder Chrysler engine. The back tires are 11.6 by 38. Excuse me. Thank you. There's a nice tractor. Next is Pat Dieter with her 1969 John Deere 1020 IU. This tractor is owned by the Freeman family. It's a 1971 1020 diesel and it's driven by one of our hard-working past presidents, Art Freeman. Thanks, Art. A 1950 model R diesel owned by Art Freeman, driven by his son Jason Freeman. Here we have a John Deere Gator. Now there is a great looking bunch of young people, and the driver is owned by the Freeman family, and the driver is Jeanette Freeman. You're welcome. Anyhow, here's a 1954 60 low seat, owned and driven by Gerald Freeman, Bluevale, Ontario, pulling a John Deere Model L spreader. What's the story on the It says John Deere stands behind all their machines except this spreader. That's wise. Here we got a 1953 John Deere Styled AR, owned and driven by Claire McGoldrick. A 1946 John Deere B, owned by Brian Anderson, restored in 2015 from bottom up. And Brian Anderson is the owner, is the driver, please. A 1956 333 Massey, owned by Jim Hulse, purchased April of 56. He's the original owner and driven by Jim Hulse. A 1943 102 Junior Massey Harris. It's owned and driven by Steve Arnold of Kagan? Cayuga. I got it right. A 1954 Massey Harris 44 Diesel Special, owned and driven by Ken Leatherdale. And he is pulling a Massey Harris dump wagon built in 1914, and it's also Ken's. There's a nice display. Thanks, Ken. A 59 model of a John Deere 730 diesel, owned by John Dale. Diesel electric start, 3-point hitch, and driven by John. This car coming up here has been at the show for many years, and we're glad it's here. It's a 1931 Model A Ford from Cal Loney from Beamsville. It's original 4-cylinder engine, 40 horsepower, and driven by Cal. And the horn works good, Cal. John Deere Model H built in 41, owned by Jim Hulse and driven by his grandson Tyler. A 42 Model B, owned by George Bellows Shaw. Doug McLean with his 1939 unstyled AR. Doug is one of our past hard-working presidents. He's pulling a John Deere Model 4B 1939 two-furrow plow, and the serial number is 19390. It says this two-furrow plow and the AR were purchased as a match set. Thank you. Here we've got a 333 diesel, gas rather, I'm sorry about that, with 38-inch back tires and wide front. Here's an interesting display, a 1978 John Deere 425 hay cuber, owned by Reg Gurney and Henry Dieter, driven by Henry, and it's powered with a 671 Detroit engine. Behind is a John Deere Gator, a 215. The owners are the Bousfield grandkids, Mason and Blair. Rotor cards, that's okay. Here we got a Massey Harris 44 row crop gas. I'll get the particulars off the front. It's owned by Russell Simpson of Shelburne. Thanks, Russell. Here's a real nice 55 diesel. We have no card for it. There's a nice old tractor. That was Massey's biggest tractor at that time. Pardon?
John Mannion from Durham.
It's John Mannion from Durham. A 1969 180 Massey diesel. From the same place? From the same place. Thank you. A 44 John Deere Model B, serial number 165, 65, 68. Owner Christopher Downs and driver. Thanks, folks, for attending our parade. We'll have one tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock. Drive safe, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you. We got an announcement to make here.
Thanks, Jim.